Hey, welcome to the Pharmacy Residency Podcast, a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. As long as you guys are still applying, I will still be here. So if you need my one-on-one help, residency.teachable.com or tonythepharmacist@gmail.com. I've gotten a couple of letters that have used this template, and I want to first tell you to not use this one. So this is PGY1 Candidate A from the ACCP website. This one is not good, and I'm going to go through how you could improve it and what you really need to do, but it's just, we'll talk about it. But right now it's got starting off, it has an 83 Grammarly score, but it allows us to make a number of corrections that are really important and that can really help you as you're trying to write your own. So the first thing it does is it begins with a sentence that is just extremely wordy. And when we talk about wordiness, what we're talking about is filler words. So as, my, as, the, in, my, on, the, past, and how much, the, has, over, time. Okay? You're talking, I get it, what you're doing is you're talking conversationally, but you don't have enough room to talk conversationally in something like this. So what you really want to do is kind of figure out, okay, what is the core of a sentence like this? And I haven't gone through this yet. I just kind of do this as I go. I've been doing this so long. So it's as I begin my professional career as the 5th generation pharmacist in my family. Well, you're not a pharmacist yet, but that being said, we don't need to go through that whole as I begin my professional career as the 5th generation pharmacist. You can just say as a 5th generation pharmacist. And yes, it's in your family. That's a given. You're at the bottom of the family tree or top of the family tree, wherever it is. But you are as a 5th generation pharmacist. I reflect on the past and realize how much the profession has changed. You don't need to say over time. That's assumed. So what we've done is we've cut the sentence in half. We tighten it up. And we say, okay, great. This is a 5th generation pharmacist. They're committed to this and they've got pharmacy in their blood. Let's see what goes next. Pharmacy has evolved into a dynamic field with an increasing focus on clinical application and an expanded scope of practice for pharmacists. Well, that's true, but we can just say pharmacy has evolved, okay, with an increasing focus on clinical application, okay, and it's an expanded scope of practice. But you don't need to say for pharmacists. That's assumed. You're a pharmacist. You're going to a pharmacy residency. Don't need to add that. Okay, so we can tighten it up. The University of Colorado Hospital PGY1 residency program would allow me the opportunity to develop my skills and would serve as the first step towards making my own impact on the continually evolving profession. Now, Grammarly didn't say this one's too long, but it's too long. And the way to know is if you run out of breath when you're saying a sentence, then you've made it too long. Or if you don't want to do I don't know if you remember from grade school, diagramming. If you don't want to do one of those Kellogg-Reed diagrams for it, the sentence is too long. So let's just see what the core of this is. Okay, the University of Colorado Hospital PGY residency program would allow me the opportunity to develop my clinical skills and would serve as a first step towards making my own impact on the continually evolving profession. Well, is there a way that we could say that more concisely? And the other issue is that this is a little too much towards the person who's applying rather than serving the patients. So I might say something like the University of Colorado Hospital PGY1 residency program would allow me to serve your patients using my clinical skills and allow me to impact an evolving profession. And I think I missed an infinitive here, to serve. Okay. All right. And then Grammarly says, well, you don't really need allow me to. you can just say impact and evolving profession. Great. We've cut it in half. So the University of Colorado Hospital PGY1 residency program would allow me to serve your patients using my clinical skills and impact and evolving profession. What we've done is, instead of saying you can serve me, it's I am serving your patients. And that's a really big change in the focus. Okay. My passion for pharmacy comes from a strong belief that I live to serve others. That's kind of assumed that you're going to be helping others if you're a pharmacist. So instead of going into your beliefs that way, we can show those beliefs by what you've done. So instead of saying I desire, just say I hope or I want. You don't have to use kind of a dime words there. So I want to practice in a setting that allows for direct patient care. So that's too many words to say I want to work in direct patient care. Just say what you want to say. My career goal is to complete a PGY1 in pharmacy practice, followed by a PGY2 in ambulatory care. Okay. What I see often is kind of a and earn my board certification. Well, what you want to do is show them that you know what that board certification is by going to, and you can go to the Board of Specialties, but what you're going to do is go to BPS. You're like, okay, well, what's ambulatory care? So we'll just say BCACP. Okay, you're saying the same thing twice. I want to follow with a PGY2 in ambulatory care and earn my BCACP. You're just saying that not only will I go to PGY2, but I care about board certification. It matters to me. Okay. So that was part of it. And then it's, okay, I want to go into something with patient interaction, but we're kind of assuming that, right? So I want to work in direct patient care as a clinical pharmacist. Okay, we'll put that one there. And then my career goal is to complete a PGY1 in pharmacy practice, followed by a PGY2 in ambulatory care, and earn my BCACP. Okay. So after gaining experience, I would like to integrate academia. They spelled academia wrong, but I'm not belittling that. I mean, yeah, do spell check. But after gaining, I would like to integrate academia into my career in order to assist in curriculum development and student mentoring. And this has become kind of cliche. I want to work in an academic medical center, working, with a college of pharmacy, blah, blah, blah. So what we want to do is just say, my favorite part of teaching and role in academia, okay, includes curriculum development and student mentoring. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we could actually even, we don't have to say teaching. My favorite role in academia my favorite roles in academia include curriculum development and student mentoring. Okay. So we're just saying that, okay, I am interested in teaching, but I really like developing the curriculum and I really like working with students one-on-one. Okay. Through my role on the, and we'll get rid of this XXX, National Education Standing Committee for the past 2 years, I have developed educational programming topics and delivered professional development presentations. Okay, since we're cutting so much out, we're going to be able to add something there. Okay, so the first thing is, and Grammarly's helping out here, it's really hard to follow this sentence, so it allows you to rephrase, and you just kind of click rephrase. And what it's doing is kind of switching it around and saying, what did you develop and then for whom, rather than for whom did you do something and then what are you developing. Okay. So I developed educational programming topics and delivered professional development presentations through my role on the National Education Standing Committee. Okay. And for the past 2 years is a lot. So I would just do for 2 years, comma, I have developed educational programming, you don't need to put topics, and delivered professional development presentations And on the national, you don't need to put on the role, on the National Standing Education Committee, and then we can get rid of this part here. There. So it recognized this 2 years thing too. So that should be, yeah, and it likes 2 years at the end, so we'll kind of agree with Grammarly on that one. Okay. And then we'll just get rid of the XXX as chapter president. I guided students. Yeah, and I already knew this one was coming. I guided students and inspired others to pursue leadership roles. I find both patient, guided it. Kids do that, and you can't actually get them to not do it, but they put regular endings on irregular verbs. I find both patient interaction, you never need to say both. I find patient interaction and student development rewarding and want a career that fuses both. Career that fuses both. Okay, so we've said the same thing. All we've done is really tightened up the language because, again, the people reading it are exhausted. And what you can do now is, now that you're kind of cutting a lot of this fluff away, you can put in actual examples. I know people say, don't put your CV on there. They're going to read it. But be practical here. Each applicant has to bring a letter of intent, a 7-page CV, letters of recommendation. That is a lot of reading. If there's something that stands out, you want to put it on there. So you might want to put what professional development presentation has to relate to ambulatory care. And so I might have put that in here. I'm not going to mess with it. But between that and chapter president, I would have put, I'm especially proud of my ambulatory care presentation on. Because right now you haven't put any evidence that you're doing ambulatory care. Okay? Your residency program at the University of Colorado Hospital exceeds all of my expectations for a PGY1 program. So that is straight up flattery, and it is unwelcome. Just delete it. Okay? Now, strong, you can use that word, but the strong clinical program that you have in ambulatory care and cardiology are very impressive. Okay, well, what's impressive about them? Okay, so let's first rephrase the sentence. And so the clinical program you have in ambulatory care and cardiology is impressive, but what I wouldn't want to do is something like that. I would put like is focused on caring for hypertensive patients. Instead of saying impressive, what you want to say, and you want to put focuses, you want to use an active verb, you want to say what it is that matches what you care about, because that will tell them a lot more about you. And that's what you really want, because then when they look at your CV and say, oh, I see they've done hypertension clinic or something like that. Okay. And we'll put Smith and Jones. I like that they didn't put, I enjoyed meeting your residents, Dr. Smith and Dr. Jones. They know that they're the residents. You don't have to tell them. Just put Dr. Smith and Dr. Jones at the residency showcase. Okay. Now, it says both of them spoke highly about your program. You could do that if they did, and they're probably going to speak highly about the program, especially 6 months in, right before an evaluation, to be fair. But what I'm really saying is it would be better to say something like, I enjoyed meeting Dr. Smith and talking about his research or his residency project on delivering blood pressure screenings to 4 ambulatory locations. Locations. Okay. Ambulatory clinic locations. Okay. And you don't need locations, you can just put clinics. To 4 ambulatory clinics. And it's going to be upset that you're using the word ambulatory a lot, but that makes sense in this case. Okay. Dr. Jones also spoke about his experience mentoring students from the University of Colorado on cardiovascular topics. Okay, that follows what you set up here, which is you're excited about ambulatory care and cardiology, and you talked to Dr. Smith about his residency project on delivering blood pressure, and you're excited about Dr. Jones, who spoke about her experience mentoring students from the University of Colorado on cardiovascular topics. This is an actual link. This is an actual relationship. To just say I talked to them at mid-year, it's just not enough. You really want to, in some way, engage as you can. Okay, so let's get rid of this whole the residency showcase, blah, blah, blah. All right, their advocacy of a collegial, so spelled collegial wrong, team-based approach at the medical center. We'll just leave medical center. We won't mess with it. So they advocate their advocacy of the collegial team-based approach to the medical center incorporation of clinical pharmacy is very impressive. That's a really fancy way to just say, I love that the team works so well together. Okay. Team works so well together. Okay. You don't have to say collegial medical center incorporates clinical pharmacy. You don't need all that. Okay. I love that the team works so well together. That's all you need to say. Okay, this is the type of culture I hope to train in throughout my PGY1 year. Well, everybody hopes to have a good environment, but we can put that in there, right? So I love that the team works so well together in a positive culture. Leave it at that, but you don't need to put two sentences that they said they like where they work. All right, I find your program progressive and innovative with several unique electives. Okay, and this is fine. Progressive and innovative with several unique electives, including, and we would probably talk about something cardio-like about it. So you could talk about, well, Coumadin Clinic's been around for so long, but coagulation. And so you might just want to say, I find your program progressive and innovative with several longitudinal, so put longitudinal electives, including anticoagulation and teaching. So you don't have to put this whole academia featuring, it says features preempting pharmacy students. Does it really say that? That's not the right word. So features precepting pharmacy students. So maybe there was some kind of autocorrection. So I'll have to go to the original, but I don't, that's definitely not the right word. Let me pause here. Yeah, sure enough. It actually said preempting. They meant precepting. So I find your program progressive and innovative with several longitudinal electives, including anticoagulation and precepting. Okay. I'm also very encouraged that attaining a teaching certificate and teaching classroom lectures are a strong component of the program. And you could just add this to what you had there. So including anticoagulation, precepting, and classroom teaching. Okay. That's all you need to add. All right. Okay. So the University of Colorado Hospital PGY1 residency is the ideal site for me to continue, for me to strengthen my clinical skills, build upon my leadership abilities, and contribute to the profession. I can appreciate your consideration of my application. All right. Again, it's just not happy with this whole ambulatory thing. Okay. So the ending thing is always kind of a little bit tough. So all you really want to say is, you again, don't just say it's the ideal site. Has a strong ambulatory and cardiovascular focus. Ideal for me to build my clinical skills, leadership. You don't need to put build upon my leadership abilities. Build my clinical skills, leadership, and make a lasting contribution. Okay, I appreciate you considering my application. There's a bunch of different ways you can say that one, but okay. And it's going to be upset about the grammar's going to be a little bit upset about the length of that. Okay, so just add a comma there. All right. Appreciate your consideration of my application. All right, so we've changed our Grammarly score from an 83 to 100. The way that you do it is you just kind of look here, great job, that's 100 out of 100. You can see that we've tightened the language. We've gotten rid of a lot of those words, and you're like, okay, well, now it's not long enough. You're right, it's not. Good news for you. What it means is you can add an entire another paragraph. Okay. What I don't see here are anything about research. And I know that as a resident, you want to show that at least you've done posters or talk about the posters. You want to talk about your presentations that you've made. I also don't really see service in here. I was chapter president. I guided students to inspire others to pursue leadership roles. Well, this is going to require a bit of detail, and we don't really know much about them. So I think that we can take these kind of generalizations, and now because we've cut all this out to 287 words from what was, I think, about 400. Let me check. Hold on. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. We cut actually a third of the words from 414 to 270. We've corrected spelling mistakes, and I get that. You know, maybe they were busy just trying to get this thing up there. But this is a much better revision. And so let's listen to it in its entirety now. As a fifth-generation pharmacist, I reflect on the past and realize how much the profession has changed. Pharmacy's evolved with an increasing focus on clinical application and an expanded scope of practice. The University of Colorado Hospital PGY1 residency program would allow me to serve your patients using my clinical skills and impact an evolving profession. Great start. I want to work in direct patient care as a clinical pharmacist. My career goal is to complete a PGY1 in pharmacy practice, followed by a PGY2 in ambulatory care, and earn my BCACP. My favorite roles in academia include curriculum development and student mentoring. Now comes the evidence. I've developed educational programming and delivered professional development presentations at the National Education Standing Committee for 2 years. As chapter president, I guided students and inspired others to pursue leadership roles. I find patient interaction and student development rewarding, and I want a career that fuses both. Can't you see that that's just missing? Like, it's like, well, tell me more. Tell me about it. Don't make me go to your CV. Give me a sentence or two. Tell me what you've done, and maybe even a story about someone who's been impacted and is going to follow you, who is now the vice president or something. Okay. The clinical program you have in ambulatory care and cardiology focuses on caring for hypertensive patients. I enjoyed meeting Dr. Smith and talking about his residency project and delivering blood pressure screenings for ambulatory care clinics. Dr. Jones also spoke about her experience mentoring students from the University of Colorado on cardiovascular topics. I love that the team works so well together in a positive culture. Moreover, I find your program progressive and innovative with several longitudinal electives, including anticoagulation, precepting, and classroom teaching. That's the biggest thing. Every single thing that I'm saying, you're making a statement. I love that your team works so well together in positive culture, and then you provide the evidence. Okay, and then this is maybe a little short, but the University of Colorado Hospital PGY1 residency has strong ambulatory and cardiovascular focus, ideal for me to build my clinical skills and leadership and make a lasting contribution. I appreciate your consideration of my application. Sincerely, candidate A, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to put PharmD candidate. I've talked about this in another episode. You don't want to put the year if you are in any year but the current year. If you are in the current year, you do want to put 2021 because your chances of getting a residency are twice those of somebody from before. If your College of Pharmacy is a top school like the University of Colorado, City of Colorado, then put it on there, okay? But if you have a school that has a low rate, then I would leave it off. And that's because I want them to judge you by who you are rather than by the people that have come before you and they've maybe had the bad experiences with. Forecast applicant code is you can put it there, but you don't really need it to save a line. Okay. All right, awesome. So I think that's it for tonight. I just wanted to tell you that whole PGY1 candidate A, don't use that one. You're welcome to use this kind of one that I've cut everything, tightened it up, but really you've got to get that 100 score on Grammarly. Anything less is unacceptable if you have this much time to do it. So, okay, well, I've got some emails to get to, but again, TonyThePharmacist at gmail.com, residency.teachable.com.